Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our professor, Dr. Elenita Gardicuenca. I am Vicky J. Somera, and I will be starting the topic 10 of our module entitled You, the Teacher as a Person in Society. Specifically, I will be discussing the philosophical heritage of our teaching profession. We will tackle the content, the teacher, the what and why of an educator. So our learning objectives are, number one, discuss the underpinnings of the different schools of philosophies and their implication to teaching. Two, acquire ideas from the philosophies that may develop insights that may solve education problem. Three, clarify thinking capacities that lead to the refinement of one's philosophical idea. So, my dear classmates, allow me to begin with a thought-provoking quote by J. Piper himself, which resonates deeply to our purpose today. According to J. Piper, to philosophize is so essentially human. And in a sense, to philosophize means living a truly human life. Early as now, kindly reflect of how you become. As for me, I am grateful that having philosophy is a gentle reminder for us to know what is our purpose, and that is to be there to understand every unique individual. As we start our journey, let us understand what this philosophy truly entails. Philosophy is the search for a general understanding of values and reality, primarily by speculative means instead of mere observation. Western philosophy focuses on the man's quest for truth, while Hindu philosophy is intensely spiritual and has always emphasized the need for its practical realization. Since human beings have a natural and necessary desire to know themselves and the world they live in, philosophy guides people into understanding this reality and helps them decide how they will live and treat others. In order to understand the concept of philosophy in education, it is necessary to understand the meaning of these terms first. Philosophy comes from the Greek word philo and sophia, which means love of wisdom. In other words, philosophy is the search for meaning. Man searches for the meaning and the truth of life, its importance, significance, value, and relevance. So education, on the other hand, goes beyond the transfer of knowledge. It involves intentional guidance, discipline, and holistic development of individuals. The philosophy of education is defined in the 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 14, which states that to protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make education accessible to all. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations, a fertile source of education direction, it concerned with the education in Article 26, which states that everyone has the right to education and it shall be free at least in the elementary and this fundamental stage shall be compulsory. On the other hand, the objectives of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations, or UNESCO, are stated in the four pillars of education: learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. Based on the four pillars of education, it is important that holistic growth of the learner, its intellectual, emotional, social, physical, and spiritual, for him to be able to transform into a useful member of society. And now the heart of our discussion, the seven philosophies of education. Let's have an overview first in the essentialism, progressivism, and perennialism. The first one is essentialism. Teach for learners to acquire basic knowledge, skills, and values to transmit the traditional moral values and intellectual knowledge that students need to become model citizens. Its emphasis on the academic content for students to learn basic skills or the fundamental R's: reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct, as these are essential to the acquisition of higher or more complex skills needed in preparation for adult life. The essentialist teachers emphasize the mastery of subject matter. Lecture method is being utilized and they heavily rely on the prescribed textbooks. The next one is the progressivism, to develop learners into becoming enlightened and intelligent citizens of a democratic society so that they may live life fully now, not to be prepare them for adult life. Progressivists are identified with need-based and relevant curriculum that responds to the students' need, that relates to students' personal lives and experiences. They are more concerned with teaching students to cope with change and focus their teaching on skills or processes in gathering and evaluating information and in problem solving. Uh, Progressivist teachers employ experiential methods because they believe that once learned by doing. They rely heavily on problem-solving method because it makes use of the scientific method. They also use field trips, which is hands-on, minds-on, and hearts-on method, and they stimulate students through thought-provoking games and puzzles. The next one is perennialism. Perennialism, school should focus to develop the students' rational and moral powers. According to Aristotle, if we neglect the students' reasoning skills, we deprive them of the ability to use their higher faculties to control their passions and appetites. Perennialist curriculum is a universal one on the view that all human beings possess the same essential nature and therefore focuses on general education. Perennialist classrooms are centered around teachers. The teacher do not allow students' interest or experience to substantially dictate what they teach. They apply whatever creative techniques and other tried and true methods which are believed to be the most conducive to disciplining the student's mind. Students engage in Socratic dialogues or mutual inquiry sessions to develop an understanding of history, most timeless concepts. Now let us explore in the existentialism and behaviorism in education. Existentialism. The main concern of the existentialists is to help students to understand and appreciate themselves as unique individuals who accept complete responsibility for their thoughts, feelings, and actions. Existentialist curriculum students are given a wide variety of options from which to choose. The humanities, however, are given tremendous emphasis to provide students with vicarious experiences that will help unleash their own creativity and self-expression. These methods focus on individual learning. Learning is self-paced, self-directed. It includes a great deal of individual to contact with the teacher who relates to each student openly and honestly. Teachers employ values clarification strategy in which teachers remain non-judgmental and take care not to impose their students' values on their students since values are personal. The next one is behaviorism. Behaviorist schools are concerned with the modification and shaping of students' behavior by providing a favorable environment since they believe that they are a product of their environment. They are after the students who exhibit desirable behavior in the society. Behaviorist teachers teach students to respond favorably to various stimuli in the environment. Behaviorist teachers ought to arrange environment conditions so that students can make the responses to stimuli. They have to make the stimuli clear and interesting to capture and hold the learner's attention, provide appropriate incentives to reinforce positive responses, and weaken or eliminate the negative ones. The last two philosophies of education, let us understand the linguistic and constructivist approach. Linguistic philosophy, it aims to develop the communication skills of the learners because the ability to articulate, to voice out the meaning and value of things that one obtains from his or her experience of life and the world is the very essence of man. Teachers teach to develop in the learner the skill to send messages clearly and to receive messages correctly. Learners should be taught to communicate clearly, how to send clear, concise messages, and how to receive and correctly understand messages sent. Communication takes place in three ways: verbal, nonverbal, and paraverbal. The most effective way to teach language and communication is the experiential way. Teachers should make the classroom a place for the interplay of minds and hearts. And the last one is the constructivism. Constructivism is to develop intrinsically motivated learners and independent, adequately equipped with learning skills for them to be able to construct knowledge and make learning of them. The learners are taught how to learn. They are taught learning processes and skills such as searching, critiquing, and evaluating information, relating these pieces of information, reflecting the same, making meaning out of them, drawing insights, posing questions, researching, constructing new knowledge out of these bits of information learned. The teacher provides students with data or experiences that allow them to hypothesize, predict, manipulate objects, pose questions, research, investigate, imagine, and invent. Classroom is interactive and promotes dialogical exchange of ideas among learners and between the teacher and the learners. And that's all the philosophies of education. And now, for us to understand the topic that we have today, let's all watch this video.
John Dewey is an American educator born in 1859 who continues to impact educational thinkers today. Dewey insisted that learning should focus on practical life experiences and social interaction rather than the more traditional instruction and rote learning that was common in 19th and early 20th century schooling. To quote Dewey, "Education is not an affair of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process." For Dewey, the learner was at the center of the learning process. He reasoned that authentic learning requires learners to be active participants in their own educative process. School, then, should be a place where learners can confront challenges and resolve them. He was really advancing ideas of learning by doing and experimentation, a scientific and reflective approach in the praxis of education. Dewey is particularly known for what's called progressive education. At the time, education was exemplified by teachers lecturing at the front of classrooms, and students were passive recipients of knowledge. Instead, progressive education is more of a liberal experience with the student at the center. It asserts a democratic community of learning characterized by activities and group discussions. Additionally, lessons and unit plans for all subjects should involve active discovery as replacement for passive remembering of facts and figures. The so-called learning by doing process also entailed an engaged, reflective practice on the experiential learning. For Dewey, we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. A simplistic view of Dewey's progressive education is that it removes teachers from this learner-centered education. But in fact, the role of teachers are vital and more multifaceted in Dewey's view of education. For example, rather than merely lecture and get students to memorize facts, teachers can be vital facilitators of learning by helping students develop skills and processes to solve problems. Instead of passive rote learning using traditional homework for learning math, teachers can guide students towards developing applied math skills. Students can learn addition and subtraction by building with blocks and Lego. The act of counting blocks and measuring bricks is useful for simple applied math. Similarly, advanced math students can learn calculus and algebra as they explore architecture and engineering projects. Calculus would be required to compute the power needed for complex technological systems, or determining structural integrity in buildings. I hope you enjoyed this short summary of John Dewey and his progressive education. Thanks for watching.
And now, as I conclude this insightful journey, let's reflect on the profound implications of these philosophies through these questions. Number 1. Describe your philosophy of teaching based on the thought given by J. Piper, stating that to philosophize is so essentially human, and in a sense to philosophize means living a truly human life. Number 2, why it is essential for an educator to understand the different philosophies in teaching. And the last number, cite at least 2 education problems that you observe in your own class. Suggest a solution based on the discussed philosophies of education. And it's a wrap. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something from me. Bye!